In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use Cifico animations to gather more assets under management for your financial practice. So rather than just showing them traditional visuals, the first thing that's going to separate you is that you're showing them an animation. The second thing is this is just one strategy that focuses on distributions, and I think your clients are really going to enjoy it. And when you have this conversation, I think they're going to be more likely to put their assets under management with you. So let's go right to the animation screen. How did I get here? Well, I just keyed in some data on what the clients will accumulate, what we think they'll have, a nice round number, $1 million at age 66. You can detail all this however you want, change all the variables. The client's actually 44, but you can see I have them starting at 66 because I want to get away from the whole, we have lower fees, and if any of our managers style drift, we fire them kind of conversation. I really want to just show them and get the inside scoop with them on how we help you spend your assets, much to the chagrin of many managers that are out there. So we're at age 66 in the future with a client. They have $1 million. This is an animation screen. How I got here, I keyed in the data. There's a little player bar down below. I'm going to breeze through this, but you can play these at whatever rate makes sense for the conversation that you're having. So I'm going to play this slow. You got $1 million. It's grown to $1 million. We press play. This million grows by 5%. You can mess with all the variables. Now it's worth $1,050,000. We take the $50,000 off the top. It goes through some sort of tax, anticipated tax. Red goes to Uncle Sam. Green goes down to you. And this repeats. I'll speed this up a little bit. This repeats in the future ad infinitum. It just keeps going, right? And so the idea here is that we need to not spend below this $1 million threshold from age 66 to 100, because this goose that lays the green eggs, it has to be preserved. That circle circumference has to be the same size to keep giving us money each time. However, if this isn't 5%, if it's lower, we would actually decrease the size of the circle when we take that 50,000 out. And of course, if taxes were a little bit higher, let's say they weren't 20, but they were 30%, we'd have to take out more than 50 to net the 40,000 down below. So just taking the scraps off the table is not really ideal. It's not a great position to be in. Plus the money managers are really happy because they're still getting trails off of this, but I'm a different kind of money manager. So let me show you my next animation that I layered behind it. And you can layer animations with Cifico. It's just different tabs that you can switch to. Here we are again, Mr. or Mrs. Client. We know you're 40 years old, but we're starting you again at 66. And in this case, the same $1 million, but for whatever reason, you know that you're going to be gone at age 85. So how would you spend that money? In other words, it's not going to be needed past age 85, not from 66 to 100, but 66 to age 85. So I'll zoom in here, I'll press play, and all I did was push a button. I even increased the taxes to 25%. You can mess with all the different variables, but I pushed a button saying, please spend down this to 0 by the time we get to age 85, because, for whatever reason, we're not going to be around. So we want to spend our last dollars on our last day. So you can see we're going under the $1 million threshold. The circumference of that circle is getting smaller and smaller. And therefore we're taking home more money each year because we've messed with the variable time by shortening it. And so I'm going to pause this in stop motion. You just press pause and then hit the +1 years. So you see this age go by and you'll see the income go up each year, and that green circle at the top getting smaller as we age, spending more and more money. And now we're at age 85. And if we're no longer here, we don't care about 85 to 100, this would be the best way to spend the money because you got to spend all of it rather than just living off the interest. However, maybe this really isn't realistic. We have to come back to reality and say, what if you live past age 85? How can you do this? And so my final and third layer of animation is, what if I took your assets under management and I had a whole life policy right alongside your assets? So when you arrived with $1 million, you had a whole life policy of $751,000, the circumference of this circle, $433,000 in tax-free cash that you can distribute, which is the blue growing inside the circle. So now we'll play this, in a slow format way just for a little bit. But again, now you're going to have this smaller asset that's paid up, that isn't hooked to the market, that vests every year and has a death benefit and all these other benefits alongside your assets under management that I, Mr. and Mrs. Client, want under management. So we're going to do the same spend down here. So I'm going to pause it and stop motion it. You can go through these however you wish. As that green circle gets smaller, the blue circle becomes more dominant. It's very conservative. It vests every year. You spend everything down to 0. And if you're still gone at age 85 in this scenario, you got to spend all this money. Plus, if you died at 85, your heirs would receive $1.2 million income tax-free bypasses probate, replacing the original million plus that you just spent down. But if you live past age 85, this is the thing that gave you permission, hence permission to spend, your assets under management. And if we press play, this is just a hypothetical policy here. This one could give $78,000 a year. You don't have to worry about the disparity here. That would just lead you to more animations and bonding further with your client. If you notice, I got through this entire video in one take. It's not because I'm some great speaker, but the animations and layering the animations lend themselves very easily to storytelling and articulate speech. And maybe this might be good for your practice or the advisors that you oversee, a new way to get assets under management. So if you like this, please reach out. Until then, good luck at your next meeting.